This conference will now be recorded.
All right, it's 4:30. I'd like to call this meeting to an order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Rutherford. Paul.
Here.
Lewis. Wilson. Stellar.
Here.
Labar.
Here.
Luther.
Here.
Winterstein.
Here. Awesome. If everyone's had a chance to look over the agenda for today, is there any modifications or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to modify the agenda, please.
All right.
Under operational updates, can I also include 2 other items? I need to have a discussion on the budget and a review of the fee schedule.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the additions of the budget and the fee schedule to the operations updates?
So move.
Can I get a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Approval of prior meeting minutes. Is there any comments, changes? March 3rd's meeting minutes? If not, can get a motion.
Make a motion. Accept the minutes or?
No, I guess support. Do I need to vote on this one too?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. On to operations and updates from our harbor master.
At this point in time, as of a week ago, Kelton has had to put in his notice as one of our Marina techs. So as of next Friday, both of our experienced Marina techs will no longer be at the Marina. For personal reasons, Kelton has submitted his resignation under much sadness. He loved the job. That was one of the things he did tell me, frankly, is that he really did love the job. Our only saving grace at this point in time is we were already in interviews for the position to be filled. So we were able to fill not only Jason's position, but Kelton's at the same time. Starting, we're hoping next Monday. We have offered a job to Andrew Senchuk, and he's accepted the one position. So we're hoping he will start Monday. He had to give 2 weeks notice where he was at, and then will be available to us at that point in time. We are waiting. We have a conditional offer of employment to another employee at this point in time, and we are hoping to have some resolution with that, but we have to wait through physicals and stuff like that on a couple of these people. He had a personal reason he had to leave town, and we're just getting scheduled stuff done. So hopefully here before the end of the month, we are still back at full force for staff, but we're going in now to this season, much like we did last year with people that aren't experienced so much. So again, going to have some growing pains, probably get that out there to as many of our boaters as we can, that we're kind of starting at ground zero again. Both of these people seem like they're going to be really great down there, and hopefully we won't have any big major hiccups or anything like that as we're going forward. Dockhands, I have a couple of dockhand applications already. Never got one from her, so
Talk to her again. See.
Yep. Maybe mention to that group again and see if any of them are interested. But we have a couple of actually firefighter kids that are their children that are interested in coming down to the docks for the summer. So none of last year's dockhands have gotten back to me that they want to come back this season either. So going to be starting kind of green and fresh there. I do have a person that we interviewed during the interviews here that did not want the full-time position, and I offered him a seasonal if he was interested in that. So hopefully we can get him. He was out of Presqu'île last year. So I'm hoping maybe we can get him to possibly not want to drive to Presqu'île every day and work. So maybe he'll come here. So that's kind of in a nutshell what's going on there. The guys are getting the docks ready today. I was really excited. I walked out yesterday and the very last far transient dock was out of the ice You couldn't park a boat by to it because it was only a foot wide on both sides of it, but it was out of the ice. So we're getting there. Things are getting going for the season down there and stuff like that. The guys were working on the docks, fixing some docks. We had that damage. We're lucky that Don told me I really needed to fix the one dock this season or this winter because the transient docks have shoved out far enough at this point in time. I'm going to have to actually pull up all the spuds and move the docks back online because the plates have pushed so far at this point in time they won't catch. So we got a little bit of work there getting ready for the season. It might delay us a little bit as opening, but I got to get all the ice off the transient docks before we even consider that. So
Do you think with the changeover from the Marina techs, is there going to be delays because of that on top of what's going on with the transient dock?
Kelton gave me a month's notice.
Okay.
So he is going to be able to cross train at least one of the guys at this point in time. As we're going here, Sean McNamara from DPW is always willing to help us out when we need to. So I'm hoping there's not a whole lot. The Marine techs, have a lot of work there, but we're hoping to kind of get through it and make the best of it again as we go forward. The one good thing is we've always had a lot of good support from the boaters as we've started off here. So hopefully that continues. And I guess that's why I put it out there, is just because it was kind of a, I think for February when Jason quit was hard. And then sitting across from Kelton hearing that he had to leave too was even harder. So here we go. We can make it through. We can get through it. So other than that, that's about all I have in employment right now. Is just we're trying to accumulate enough dock hands that I can cover what I consider 115 hours a week, which I think gives us adequate coverage for what we've got. And it also will hopefully give us some overlap on Friday and Saturday when we're really super busy down there with everybody. Other than that, moving on to budget. I believe most of you probably received the email that I sent out yesterday to cut approximately $22,000 from our budget. One thing I'm hoping we can do is possibly offset some of that 22 with possibly another grant for facade grants on the Marina building. If I can do the siding and the windows there, it sounds like I'll qualify for a facade grant. So hoping to offset some of that $22,000 with $10,000 in revenue, which would mean that we would need to cut an additional $12,000 worth of projects up to $22,000 worth of projects from this year. So I don't know if you guys got a chance to review that list and have any input.
So do you think I know you can't guarantee a grant or what have you. It'd be dangerous to be pulling from the Marina building, especially since we're trying to entice someone to come in and lease it. Or would you recommend keeping that number the same?
I need to keep that number the same because right now, just to give you guys an idea what I'm looking here, I'm trying to keep 35,000 in that because we did not get that grant. That 35,000 will hopefully help me get the heat taken care of, get the windows replaced and the siding on the building. We're only going to side two sides of the building, the two front faces of the building at that point in time, hoping that will be enough to get those things done. I know the windows were right around $6,000 when I priced them a month ago. Typically you double that, so that's 12. Heat, I'm hoping to keep right around. I'm hoping to be able to pull out what's there, put a couple of vents in, and be able to heat the building pretty efficiently, especially if we change the windows. That's going to make a huge difference in that building. And then in addition to that, hopefully we will be able to put the siding on the outside of the building and dress up the front of that building, get that taken care of, like the doors in that portion. So if I can do that, hopefully that's probably going to burn up most of that 35,000 realistically, plus some more money that I have tucked away on the other side of this, trying to get that taken care of. So I'd like to keep that 35 protected.
Oh, the remaining 12, what would that consist of? Standpoint of,
And that's what I'm trying to ask you guys. What are we willing to give up? Because right now, council is already committed to help us with the docks, that money there. So I want to keep the fixed dock replacement in there right now at 100 we're committing 150 to it. Actually, we're almost 156 is what we're ultimately committing, but it's shown in here as 150 on that 300 it's like a $306,000 project. 306.
I mean, I know what Steve Wilson was saying,
Mm-hmm.
look at the way signage, and what was the second one?
Wayfinding signage and the lights, because I think we all agree that the dock repairs are pretty important and the utility pedestals need to have something done with them. That 16,000, as close as I can tell, maybe does 5, realistically probably 4, which would get me, and some of that money there right now, I have Thunder Bay Electric. To keep us out of trouble, I have to have the grounding checked in all of the utility boxes every couple of years. Just to, if there was, God forbid, something happened, we would have that covered for us, that we had checked the grounding and everything else, and that it was probably not at our end if there was an electrocution in the water or something like that. So,
you're talking about are the brown tall lights?
no, I'm talking, the lighting we're talking about would be the brown poles on Prentice Street would probably be affected, yes. So that's what we would lose in this is that. And then Steve said the wayfinding signage, which means like the entry sign into the marina was what I was kind of looking at this year would not get done. We'd leave the brown sign in there for right now.
I guess I don't know. I don't see how else skim off anything. I mean, that seems to be the only, I mean,
Does the name on the sign need to change?
The name on the sign is wrong right now, yes.
Is that a big deal? Don't even realize it changed.
Yeah, most people probably don't even realize it changed. We changed it just for ease of transient voters trying to find us. They're probably not going to look at the brown sign out by the road.
Skip the sign then.
yeah.
Yeah, operational wise,
Yeah. no,
those two things are not right.
Yeah.
Vital.
I mean, they're I think aesthetically speaking, they'd be a positive project, but I think if we really have to cut, that seems to be the best spot. At least.
They're kind of the low line or the low hanging fruit that would be easy for us to cut to get to there if we had to.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking at right now is if you guys are in agreement, I guess that's what I would do is I would take out the wayfinding signage and knock back the high efficiency lighting and probably make that work that way if that works for you guys.
So you motion for that or? Sorry, okay.
No, that's fine. I'm just, again, these are just, they're things that they want me to make the decision on. So I will make the decision, or I'll tell them that and I told them I wanted to go to committee and just ask your opinion before we did it.
Were you thinking of getting rid of all 10,000 of the wayfind
All 10,000 of the wayfinding signage
two of the,
and a couple $1,000s out of the high efficiency lighting.
yeah, that seems,
Is there a chance that any of those can go back in if we have a year where we have more
It is
than anticipated?
it is something I would have to ask. It's a question I would have to ask. I probably would have to go to council and ask them to, that it was cut from the budget during the budgeting process and ask for it to go back in because our revenues are exceeding and then bring that revenue money in to pay for it.
Yeah, it's worth a try. The lights are pretty significant issue for me down there, I think,
Mhm.
and probably for everybody. Aesthetically, they're junk.
Yeah. At least the break wall's been done
Right.
so that
Huge.
people will see that there's been a map. I mean, yeah.
it's a working.
And even the lighting, if, I don't know if you guys were aware of it, that lighting, I couldn't do all the lights at one time, even on there. I was going to have to section off the brown lights and get them done. So if we have a really fabulous year and we don't want to go to council and say, hey, we want to do the lights, maybe next year we double that money up and do a bigger section of the lights or something like that.
That makes sense to me.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, and then, again, that's what, it is on my list of questions to ask, because this is kind of the first year it's the second year, but it's kind of the first year I've went through this portion of the budgeting with them. And it's going to be a matter of, I don't know if we can go back to council afterwards and say, okay, our revenues are way higher than we expected. Can we add this project back in? It's going to be a question that I'm going to have to ask during.
Have you had pretty much unanimous support for all the changes that have been forthcoming?
It seems like it, it seems like council is behind us and management is behind us. So I really haven't had a whole lot of backlash or anything like that as far as the changes that we've requested or anything like that. Again, just things that, we've talked about and everything else. I think when we go to them, we're going with them with a solid plan, and I think that helps. And again, we're making improvements, nothing that I'm going to them with is frivolous at this point in time. It's all pretty well needed, there's even anything on this list, there's really nothing that's frivolous items on it. It's all things that we need to operate and things like that. So
Has the lighting been looked at from the savings and energy standpoint at all yet, or not? It's not.
I'm kind of the bollards. We were going to be short money on that, and I've put in for that. Energies United with John Payne.
Well, just the cost and the offset though, for like the expense versus the savings, or
And we realize we're going to have a revenue increase there from doing that, but it's not enough yet for me. I have to establish that we've saved that money, and there's things I'm doing in utilities this year, moves that I'm making. Things like I found a way to reduce our water bill by $4,000. So I'm going to do those things, I'm going to put in smaller meters and stuff like that. And by putting in smaller meters, all of a sudden I save us $4,000 on the water bill. Just because that right to serve, I don't need a 4-inch meter going to the transient docks. A 2-inch meter is more than significant. So then at that point in time, my right to serve goes down significantly, and I can save that money, recapture that, save that money in the bills in the future. So then we can go back at that point in time and say, okay, our budget this year needs to be this for the utilities. And then that just keeps kind of rolling through on things that we need. Does that make sense to everybody? We did take a couple of very large chunks of money for supplies and repairs this year. That's the things that like are fixing the docks today and things like that. I don't know if you guys were down there today. They're getting the docks ready to go in and stuff like that. When they go to Home Depot and spend money. I've maxed out the card before. I'll tell you that. We've maxed out the card in one day. On timber and stuff like that, that has to come out of repairs. I can't take it out of our capital line items. So at that point in time, those funds are really bumped up just because we do know we have a lot of repair stuff that needs to be done, and we are doing those repairs out of these things. So hopefully as we get things shaped up down there, as we are being more proactive on taking care of things and things like that, at that point in time, those funds start shrinking down and our capital funds are able to go the other way. So a lot of what you're seeing here is these are the big project ticket items here, and those are the ones that they like us to cut if we can, or it's the easiest thing for us to cut, because I can't tell you we're going to be in those other funds until we're through them.
I think the good news is that look at all what's been done in the last, I guess, 12 months, or probably more like 9 months.
Oh, yeah.
I'm shocked that we got as much done. Not we, staff and others, got all that done. What's been done. I think
It's noticed.
huge improvements.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to hear that. And I always, when you guys do tell us that, I always refer that down to the guys who are actually the boots on the ground down there doing those things. I'm amazed sometimes what the guys have accomplished, and I forgot to download my pictures. I was going to show you. I wish I would have done it today. Is the store, the inside of the store is, I don't think anybody would recognize it if I threw pictures up right now. Nobody would. So they really worked hard this winter to get that inside of that building fixed as much as we could. So I'm pretty dang happy about how that turned out this year. There's still a long ways to go, but I'm not embarrassed walking in it anyways. So that's huge. So I guess at this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and make my adjustments in wayfinding and in lighting, if that works for you guys. Okay. The other part is by the end of the week, they want to have the preliminary budget ready to roll. So that's why you guys are looking at the fees today, because they're going to want to see those inside of there. Most of what you're seeing on the fees is just adjustments that I have made in order to clean up the fee schedule. We really haven't raised fees. We haven't changed fees or anything like that. We've kind of said this season we were going to try to hold as stable as we could just to see where we really were with the fees as they were established. So a lot of what you're looking at here is just us cleaning up the fee schedule from what it was in the last budget. Adding in verbiage that's missing to clarify things, the boats over 60 feet and broadside dockage and things like that were never in the budget, so there was no fee established for them. In as far as that was done, you're seeing in here like the seasonal slip deposits are now listed in here, so everybody's aware and they can't come back and say, oh, well, how would we know that? So again, it's just cleaning up things that were not in the last budget or not in previous budgets that I'm either rewording things so they're easier for people to understand, or it is clarifying things that are already happening. A lot of what you've seen in red was like the fee schedules for the lift services, things like that were already established, but because they're new to this budget, they're still in red.
The vote length, the first one, 32.9, just 0.9.
It is.
For any of the adjustments, be any kind of like announcement to those potentially affected by that, like Steve Wilson's boat being in that range, that 1702, is that a hike up in price, or was that missing?
It was not in the budget correctly. When I started talking with Rich McTaggart last year about fees and stuff like that, I realized that the fees were wrong. That 1702 was wrong in the budget. So then that's why it's in red this year, because I think it was 1750 something in the budget. And he said it was more. It was higher in the budget. So I was trying to get them, again, I was trying to match stuff up and make certain we were all right on things when we were doing it. Again, just cleaning things up and
any of the changes that were forthcoming for law enforcement and or other is postponed until 23?
correct. We will do that in the next budget year. We need to get that, like that, the standard operating procedure approved and stuff like that. So I think going into this year and in good faith to everybody, letting them know, okay, I know this is how it used to be, but now it's going to be, and we're going to give you a year. And I know I talked to Jeff Gray just briefly, and he appreciated the fact that we were trying to give everybody a year to kind of get themselves established and figure out their budgets and stuff like that. Anything in the fee schedule that you guys see is out of,
No,
a lot of it is just the fees change in September for the state. So then at that point in time, we have to modify them in the budget. And it was weirded funny how the seasonal moorage rates were, the seasonal transient moorage rates were along the riverfront and things like that. So I took out
Broadside dockage.
broadside dockage is, you guys go into a slip and then you see the boats that are parked along kind of the head wall.
Okay, I got it.
That's broadside dockage. And some of them are broadside dockage without utilities, and some of them are broadside dockage with utilities. So
We charge also for along the federal building or any of that dockage.
that actually went in there. It was really weirdly done, and we do charge for that. I actually had a boat contact me here. I think they're coming in the first 2 weeks of May. So yeah, that money, that'll be transient money also as it comes in.
So it's just billed per foot? Like, Transient?
Yeah, like the transients, they get billed per foot, but they are at half rate because there's no utilities there.
Okay.
And I would wonder if I could get a motion on this from you guys just to recommend the fee schedule.
I'll make the motion.
Support.
I'll second.
I'm a non-voter, so.
You're all over that, Al. Hey?
He's a non-voter.
All in favor? Say aye, sorry, aye. All opposed? You snuck that one up on me, so I'm ready for it.
Sorry.
Okay, that's it for operational updates. We can move on to master plan underneath the master plan review from Eric.
Yeah, I hope everyone can hear me. Everything's good. So you guys have the master plan. I don't know if you guys have any more questions on it. I've written down a couple things that you guys are clearly working on, your staff and your budget. And if there's any, I did receive some corrections that I've already made from Don. And if there's anything else, just let me know.
Is there any other discussion on that master plan?
When we were talking about the items underneath purpose and focus areas, page 5 and 6, I know that at one point we had talked about integrating some verbiage of like renewable or sustainable energy or green energies. And I know that I thought Rachel had talked about be a way to kind of, I don't know, I can't remember. It's been a while since we talked about it, but I didn't know if there was a different verbiage we were going to add in maybe underneath. Maybe that's what number 5 is doing, recreate, reuse, and redevelop. Sure. Remember we had talked about it and I thought we were going to look into. Maybe I'm misremembering.
And I think that's what the purpose of 5 might have been, that was to take care of us, doing,
Kind of within that worldish.
yeah. I hate to use the specific green infrastructure stuff like that, because then does dark skies qualify? Does, the recycling program qualify? Does, and those are kind of the first things that we're doing here as far as that is the small baby steps into it.
And you don't think anything like that do you think anything not including that would hurt us with any grants we might pursue in the future with underneath that? I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
not necessarily. And the only reason I say that is some of our grants are very specific in order to, and I don't know how much you guys are familiar with how grants work, but usually what happens is you submit your grant and then you have a rubric of scoring. And when you go through that scoring rubric, there are certain milestones that they want you to hit. And usually there is one in there for us to include green infrastructure and things like that. For example, one of the things that we told them we would explore for the new restrooms over by the band shell is geothermal, because that area there has enough room for me to put the loops in. So that, when we do, they kind of go through and there's a checkbox of things that they're looking for. I think just us being cognizant of it and putting them in as we need them are what are going to, they're going to be looking for.
John, do you have a term you'd like thrown in there? I guess.
I'm not really sure. I mean, I somewhat remember us getting hooked up on what was the right kind of word to use in there.
Right.
I think we were talking mainly about like storm management when we did discuss that section. But the other option too would be to have it as a project to look into the feasibility of developing things of that nature. Because if you find out it's not feasible, then it's stuck at that feasibility point before it's actually ever developed.
Yeah.
Right, and I think that's why we kind of went with just the broad sentencing that we did on that, was just so that we could, that we could look at things like that, so we weren't tying our hands, for lack of better, into everything you do must be green, and we don't have that option available.
Yeah, I mean, for me specifically, a specific word doesn't point out to me. I mean, that's how I read 5. I just didn't know if there was a different look at that. So
Right, and I think it's one of those things that we're thinking of as we're doing things, and how are we going to make it a better environment, and doing all those things that are good for our environment, and doing things that will protect our water. So and I think that's what the thought was with that kind of being broad in it, is it kind of gave us the ability to think outside the box, as opposed to just looking at the lean book and saying, okay, we're going to do this.
Yeah, and like I said, if you want to narrow that down in a project scope, you would narrow it down to just kind of look into the development, or like I said, the feasibility, can play a big role in that as well.
yeah. That was really the only thing for me that popped up.
Other than a few grammatical errors, I think we're all catching as we're going on. If you've got them and you've got them circled, what we'll do is we'll get them to Eric here. The grammar stuff. Don caught a lot of them, I think. Cassie caught some more here in her document, so we'll get those over to him, and with corrections.
Just
Yeah,
a question.
Go ahead.
The only other thing I had too is if you guys wanted to highlight any survey data that may help with your projects and goals, and have them be more descriptive, because what I have in there, just lists the activities that users use and the rating that the community feels the amenities and facilities are at. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to highlight that, might kind of help moving forward.
Do you have a recommendation, Eric, on that, of what additional one might be useful in your mind?
So I would say anything that you're using and looking to apply for grants, I would think it would be a little more important to highlight those statistics of saying, hey, we want a voters, restrooms. That was such a big complaint. We're going to apply for a grant. We want to show you not only, we have this survey data that shows X amount of people believe that that's one of the bigger issues.
What are your thoughts, Shannon?
Does that hurt us if we're going for
What?
does that hurt us if we're going for a grant that's not related to that?
Well, and that's my concern. That's why I'm sitting here going, okay, sometimes what we do is there'll be a call for grants, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, we wanted to do that project down there, so let's take a look at that. And I don't want to, again, pigeonhole us into something that doesn't help us. It's kind of like knowing that we wanted to do something with the Marina building and reaching out before the docks and trying to get that grant in order to do the Marina buildings. Trying to make that all work and stuff like that. The ability for us to kind of pick and choose sometimes does help us out if we have a call to projects where we can do something that's on the list, but maybe not as high up the list as some of our priority projects, but we can fund it so we can go after a grant for it. I don't know if that makes sense to everybody.
You were talking grants, and under number 7, we have the resource summary there. Is the city of Alpena eligible for a request to Community Foundation, Northeast Michigan, yada, yada, yada? I mean, I think ourselves list.
I don't think so. These are just their recommendations of funding we can do. It's kind of like going out to Community Foundation. It's not on that list and I don't know if it is or not, but I can't remember. But just thinking outside the box as you're hearing grants, it's kind of like that Department of Ag one that came. I was listening to the news one day and it's like, oh yeah, we can apply for that possibly with the Marina, or it was, hey, let's look at this grant and see what qualifies in it and see what niche it fills. So I don't think, this is not an all-inclusive document. I think that's one thing we need to keep in mind is this is not an all-inclusive document. It's a blueprint for where we want to be in the next 5 years. And how we get there between here and there doesn't necessarily always have to fall inside of this. Things happen.
Many times they'll fund, a specific request, the boxes.
Right.
And do you think there's anything, I mean, with the surveys we did and the overwhelmingly strong commentary, especially about the conditions of the docks themselves, do you think there's any reason to include kind of what Eric's talking about that would address support for that? Or do you think that kind of is fairly self-explanatory within the plan itself?
Well, and again, we invite them to click these 2 links here.
Oh, okay.
And look at our survey results. So I don't want to make this a 3,000 page document where people are looking at it and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, no, I'm bored this far in, and that's what I'm hoping is we're giving them the basic meat and potatoes of it, because at some point in time, I don't want you to go off left turn or halfway through and go, okay, I'm done reading statistics. I want to just really get to the important portion of it. So and again, Eric, you're the expert in this kind of, I'm not. I just know what my chicken, look at chicken Brian would tell me.
Well, and certainly you don't want to highlight every asset for grant funding, and then people are looking through it thinking, wow, this survey, everything seemed to be negative. They wanted this improved, and this improved. And you kind of want it to reflect both ends of what the people are using it for, and target specific ones. Like I said, if you guys want to target 2 or 3, I think would add a little more to this section, but I agree, you don't want it 7 pages, the same with the grant summaries. You could probably write just as many pages as I wrote for this document as far as grants that are available.
Yeah.
So.
Any other thoughts from committee? Staff? On the master doc or the master plan? Okay.
I think it's, at least, I guess my final comment is just, I think it's fine the way it is, unless we really thought for some reason that we needed some kind of supporting, a more fleshed out support of, we know we're going to go after the docks. We know we're going to fix that building. If all of a sudden we find out, oh wait, maybe we really should highlight it a little bit stronger, then we could do that. But I think as it is right now, with having them extra linked like you did, well, like it has been, I think that's fine for what it is right now.
And again, this is a living, I think Rachel uses the word living document. It's a living document. So there's nothing saying that a year from now, if this isn't working for us, we don't come back and explore it again. So.
Yeah, and that's really the nice thing with a document like this is there's no stringent legal requirements like there normally are for community master plans and recreation plans. So they're pretty loose on the standards as far as legal requirements.
Any other comments? I need, and I'm looking at Rachel because I don't know, because this is the first time I've dealt with one of these. I need them to approve it as amended.
Right, and then I guess, so is this going to be, the Marina plan would be an appendix basically to our recreation plan for purposes of grant submissions, correct?
Correct. That was my understanding.
And so my question was, would we have to go through, I guess this is a question for Eric, would we have to go through and, so that there would be a motion to approve as amended and make a recommendation to council for approval? And so I'm assuming because this is part of the recreation plan that we would have to adopt that as we would the recreation plan, but I haven't dealt with this type of plan before. So what are your thoughts, Eric?
So I would just do a resolution. We wouldn't have to do the notification and posting like you normally do for a recreation plan. But I would recommend board approval, so that way when you're submitting for waterway grants and additional funding, that it just kind of shows and tracks that that's there.
Okay.
Okay.
So then,
And would you also, so you just, I would think it needs to go to council though.
right.
Yes.
I think and when we said we were going to take it also is for their information to rec board and to planning commission.
Okay. Perfect.
So that everybody was in the loop. So so right now we would need to approve the plan as amended.
So we would need a motion to approve the plan as amended, and then we would need another motion.
To recommend it to
Recommend.
council.
Okay. Do I make those motion stipulations, or does another?
I'm waiting for somebody to make that motion.
Can I get a motion for the approval of the amended? That's the official title.
Make a motion.
Thank you. Can I get a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes. And then now can I get a motion for the recommendation of the master plan to be, to get any finagling with it, or can I just say a motion to
Recommend the plan.
council for approval?
Make that motion.
Can I get all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion approved. Go on to item 3, Marina building lease, presentation of proposals.
I'm going to start it for you.
Oh,
So you guys in your packet received proposals from some vendors that submitted to us for the lease of the building. I'm sorry. Sometimes I lose words. For the lease of the building, we had one for the mechanical and one for the storefront. And I am going to actually kind of turn it over to them to kind of present what their thoughts are as far as that's concerned, and we can go from there. I'm going to start with All Marine.
Hi, I'm Arlie Barker from All Marine. You guys all know me, I guess. I think I've worked on all your boats and stuff. So basically just kind of expanding on what happened last year. You know, Rich, his contract was up and we took over the hoisting of the boats. Basically with the hoisting of the boats goes hand in hand with the mechanical side of it. Already this spring I've been contacted by several of the boaters and other people in the community that boat and have boats in the area, looking for repair work, spring maintenance, that type of thing. So our proposal is basically in the contract with the hoisting of last year, we had Bay 3 as part of that operations to do the hoisting, the winterizing. The city wants one bay, Bay 1, the shore side, smallest garage for doors and stuff, and then we would take over Bay 2, which would be the middle garage door, and continue utilizing the larger Bay 3 for the majority of the repairs would be going on in the larger bay that we're currently in already. So most of the tools and repair work and stuff would still be in that larger bay. In the smaller bay where the old parts and inventory from Thunder Bay Shores was, we're going to kind of turn that into a parts counter, also carrying some retail supplies, accessories, bilge pumps, that type of stuff. The parts and accessories we currently have in stock basically will just be moved over there. We'll put up a counter so customers can't get behind the counter. You'll walk in the big door, there'll be a service counter, parts counter. We're planning on hiring another guy to run that, to free up me and Reed Wilson to lift boats and repair boats and do the work there. So there'll be somebody in there full time, answering the phone, that type of thing, selling parts, inventory. If you need a dock line, if you need a bilge pump, fuses, light bulbs, we'll have all that stuff. And so that's kind of our plan. As far as dates to open and stuff, it'd be turnkey. We're planning on next week, this coming week being in there, and just starting the season. And I don't know if you guys have any questions about that or anything, but I think you guys kind of know me and kind of know what we do. And I've been around the harbor for 20 years.
Yeah, thanks for coming here and explaining that. My one question, so with the heated, I know this is something we've talked about, the heated, having the shop be heated, which is currently not right now. Are you thinking when you have that part heated, it'd be a full year?
It would be a full year, but it would be limited hours in the winter because work's limited. But it would the main thing is during the fall winterized season when we're trying to dry out boats when the weather's inclement, even in the spring start, it gives us the opportunity. Like probably would have been in there 2-3 weeks ago working on stuff, but right now no heat, 20 degrees. It's not very fun. So yeah, we would plan on limited hours, but it would bring us out of the seasonal to kind of year-round thing.
What are the limitations of the heating in those bays? All three of them are.
There was never really heat in that building that was efficient enough to run year-round.
Okay.
As part of our continuing, trying to do green things, trying to do great things, we can use all that oil that comes out of your boats from your motor oil changes and heat the building. I found a reasonably priced little unit that we think is big enough by the square footage that's in there for us to be able to heat the building for the guys enough. It's not going to be 90, but it's not going to be 20 either. It'll be a comfortable, hopefully 60 degrees. We can keep it at using that and then supplement it with some other heat.
And we've currently been taking that waste oil and taking it to Alpena Trans, which they're burning a waste oil heater anyway. So it would just save the transport. It would just recycle the oil right there on property. It'd be quite the slick deal.
So ideally, you'd want limited heat year-round.
Yeah. I mean, in the summer we wouldn't be heating. We'd stockpiling that oil, and then once the temperature gets down, then you just start feeding the fuel oil burner, basically.
We have the potential too, because the city does their own oil changes, that we'd be able to possibly. And I got to look at the transport of it. That's one of the things that we're trying to figure out is if we can transport it from the garage to the marina. What it's going to take to do that. So there's a possibility that we can use the oil also for our own facility and actually not have to pay to have it gotten rid of at that time by putting it through this burner.
Would Bay 2 be fully utilized for parts and retail?
The front half of the front garage, say like one garage space, that would be utilized probably for like equipment parking, forklift, golf cart. But also, if we're really busy, 23-4 foot boats fit in there pretty nicely. So any, single axle trailerable boat absolutely can be shoved in there and worked on. And
Are you planning on doing non-marine repairs?
As far as,
Somebody brought their truck in and wanted it worked on?
no. I mean, our personal shop vehicles, that type of thing. Yep. But as far as, outside other non-marine things, no.
That is actually wrote into their lease.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ari here? All right.
The second one is for the storefront, and got a proposal for it, so I was pretty excited to see the proposal that we got. I'm gonna have Philip, and I can never pronounce his last name, so I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Philip Cabana, and I own Cochon LLC. We recently moved to Alpena. It's a business gourmet market that I had in Harbor Springs. As we moved to Alpena, I'm excited to have a chance to now be part of the community over here. In the proposal, I believe that you've received and you've seen, the storefront will serve the community year long, not just for supplies, but for basic boat supplies, but also bringing gourmet market, some basic groceries, but also items that are not found commonly at the regular grocery stores, bring a little bit more new products, and liquor license to be able to do off-premises beer and wine at the beginning. Liquor eventually, as those licenses are a little bit harder to find in the county, so it's not currently available, but on the plan to be there. And also working with the community, the city of Alpena, the DDA, the Chamber of Commerce, the schools, the Marina, NE4, to have a central point in the building in that location for information, resource, and have people that not only just bring people that have boats and would have a single reason to come, but bring everybody to be on the storefront and by the marina, by the front waterfront, and utilize what the city offers with the concerts and the park, and get people in. And the more people are coming in, then eventually they look into it and say, well, this is a good place to have a boat, and increase the marina business. What's not included in the documents that you receive, and I didn't know how many people were there, so I just made a couple of copies for it. It's just pictures and visuals of the boat supply portion of it, and proposal of what I had in Harbor Springs as far as display. And on the front page is current vendors, local Michigan, or a little further out, there's a couple. I'm originally from Montreal, so there's businesses and products that I'm bringing from Quebec that cannot be found anywhere else in the States, which kind of have something unique to bring over. But with the vendors, priority would also be from as closest to where we are. So Alpena, for similar products, anything that is produced in Alpena will have priority, and then going further out, trying to get as much Michigan products. As far as the boat supply portion of the store, the plan is to work with mechanics and to kind of complement what they would not necessarily carry. If somebody's looking for a whistle, I don't think it's something that you would necessarily keep in stock. So it's something I can keep in stock. I already had a beginning of conversation with a few boaters, and also Eric Smith, who I believe is a member of the sailing club, and it would just be growing as to discovering what is needed, basically. Just if it's cleaning products for seats and leather or the vinyl. So we would just continuously updating for what is in need. I'm also on the first steps, but trying to get with the DNR to, if I can get the machines, to get the fishing license and boating license and hunting license. So kind of really turning the shop, the gourmet market, in more than just the food market, to really be a destination. And
Would you, as far as the food, would there be, like a better term, a deli or something where if a boater comes in, they can get a sandwich or?
Yes, the goal is to have everything prepackaged, so everything would be grab and go.
Okay.
And work with local restaurants and businesses for them to provide food already packaged, either on as myself just as a vendor, myself buying the products to resell, or working on a consignment projects. But yes, to have, so somebody can come off the boats and have cheese, crackers, beer and wine for a party on the deck that they want to do, or they just want to grab something and go back in the water, everything will be set.
Is that similar to the way you operated with Harbor Springs?
Yes, basically in Harbor Springs, I had the Dutch Oven, which is a bakery in Elenson, which was 8 miles away, and we worked in collaboration. So they were bringing pastries and breakfast items, and the second trip in the day to bring sandwiches. And people were able to, especially in Harbor Springs in the summer, where it could easily be 2 hour, 2.5 hour wait for a restaurant seat to get lunch. People were able to come in and out, and I always kept extras for business. So the real estate agent, banks, employee and everything could come and just grab, and then we took care of payments when it was less busy, so they could be in and out. So there's the convenience to be able to just grab and go and have there, but have fresh items. Also in the hours of operation is to stay at least until 6 p.m. If there's any events in the park or close by, to stay up later, so people finishing work at 5 or 6 can swing by and pick up items that they need quickly for dinner.
Would you be utilizing the entire space that's available in the retail?
Yes, which somewhat 2,000 square foot roof. Yeah, the goal is to utilize all the space. Food, beer and wine would take a majority, not a majority of the space, but probably half of what it is. And it would be concentrated on microbreweries and Michigan products. Again, giving priority to as close as we are to Alpena and go mileage out. And offer a wide range of price selections also, so somebody can come in and not necessarily burn out their weekly budget on it. But to stay open late enough, and then to have access. As far as the rest of the space, there's a portion that would be reserved for, as I said, for information for the community. Even if the high school would like to have a play and they would like to have a table to be able to sell tickets, it's an easy point of access. And with the parking around and walking, it makes a nice point that people can just go in and get the information that they need. Boat supply would take a fair amount, and we'd be prime as far as visual and walking in.
What other leasehold improvements or improvements would have to be made in the box that you're renting, leasing?
I mean, for
accommodate your needs.
For what I've seen, I mean, as far as equipment is coolers and freezers. That's in my budget as far as the business that comes in. The rest is shelving, and it's the good thing about that type of building is like it doesn't have to look like it's a $200 million grocery store heater. Like shelving can be all kinds of different style, and often industrials or simple bookshelves works better than anything else. I know you had a discussion earlier about sidings and windows. I have absolutely no problem being in the space if work has to be done at the same time. It's not a priority. The building actually looks great. There's projects that are in line with graphic designers, and there's grants with the DDA as far as signage and all of that would be included. So all of my side of the business, as far as what I need as equipment, cost, money to get started and everything is that all the dominoes are standing up right now. It's confirming that I have the place. Chamber of Commerce is ready, bank are ready, we're ready. So I can, as soon as I can have occupancy, I can start bringing things in. My goal would be to be ready by mid-May to make sure that the Memorial Day weekend we're up and running full speed.
Adequate public restrooms in the facility or?
No public restrooms in the facility. That was put into their lease. There is a employee restroom only. I can't quite get us to ADA compliancy the way the building
Right.
is set up right now. That is like 4 years out. Possibly getting us to the point where there would be ADA compatible restrooms available inside that area. But, and even that is a push at this point in time.
And as far as in the store or the project as itself or the retail, people would be in and out. So if they do need to use the restrooms, the city restrooms available on the park are not that far away. So it's not like a restaurant where I would be required to offer bathroom in the building.
Has the utilities been looked into as far as like electrical need for large coolers and things like that, like circuits and?
Everything basically plugs in on regular
110.
regular plug. There's nothing like no extra anything that needs to be done. Wi-Fi access for the POS system and the credit cards, and that's it. And even that can, worst case scenario, can be run through a cell phone. So coolers are all plugged in on a regular. The freezers and they're just a regular 110. No, all there, none of them require a different setting.
Yeah.
And that's part of, again, us, we have a little bit of money left in the building refurbish just to accommodate that stuff if we get into it. Under electric circuit boards or something if we need to.
Question kind of more for you, but, and I guess both of you. My two questions are, one, with the parking around that area, would there be any need to repaint parking spots so they're kind of up against the building, or would it just keep it as it is?
I think we would leave it as it is for now, just to see what happens. And that's, again, it's a fluid thing because we really don't know how much parking he's going to need specifically. If we get into that eventually, I'm hoping to restripe that lot this summer when we do the full painting for the city. Part of that is our parking lot, so I'm hoping to be able to restripe this lot as we get started here. We can use dedicated spots and parallel parking or whatever.
I mean, comment on the parking, it's just moving the hoist around the front or the lakeside part of the store to have some sort of signage or put up barricade during spring and fall time, then not have to go in and bug your customer. Hey, move your car so I can drive this 30-ton hoist through.
I mean, for the most part, in the peak season in the summer, the majority of the customer would come off boats, so they would be on foot coming out of their dock, or they would be in the park coming in. So if somebody comes in by car just to pick up something, or they're driving by and need to park, I mean, there's enough parking that they can easily make the 3 steps to, I mean, if there's a need for accommodating handicap parking closer to the building, that's a different story. But I don't see a need to have anybody parking like right in front to go in and out.
There's none, zero, okay.
So
Okay.
and either cross the street or park somewhere else on that. I mean, just driving by today, just looking at the boat that's standing outside. I mean, that's something to just come by foot to go take a look and then grab something in the store.
The second question is, so with a potential liquor license with him, the complexities, I mean, I know the park, you can open carry, the social district does not apply to the marina boundaries, right? Oh.
Comment.
Yeah.
We're not to staff comment.
It's just gonna be I guess my question. I like the idea. I could see myself going to your place quite a bit. So would there be any opportunity, or do you have any vision of like outside? I know you're not a restaurant and not trying to be a restaurant, but would there be any capacity or interest by you for having like outdoor seating where someone could grab, say, one of your to-go things and maybe something and be able to enjoy it?
I mean, not
licensing allowed.
Yeah, I mean, if licensing allowed, but not directly or not at this point. I mean, part of it, the side of the building, as you mentioned, that we want to get it clear. So if it needs, the equipment needs to be moved. And there's enough to go back in the park, and it's like not that far to make that 3 steps. So that's at the point where people would come in, grab what they need. I see the majority of people will go back to their boats anyway, and at least at the beginning.
Or even Marina's improvements with park or benches and picnic tables and things like that. So that would kind of play right into that.
And if there's a concert or an event close by, I mean, they will want to grab something and then go back to the stage. So if there's a need at some point, and if I'm asked to have it, I have no problem of putting low tables outside. But the goal was to get everything packaged, grab and go, and people to go.
We're just gonna go back on your boat.
Well, yeah, when they said party on the dock and back, so.
Yeah, we'll with the grant with the DDA for signage, we'll put a sign to
Yeah.
the map to your boat.
Yeah, we'll sure the benches get put by our slip.
I have one question. So what time frame of the year are you looking at when this is, like, will there be a time?
The idea is to at least Memorial Day to Labor Day to be 7 days a week, and as a minimum until 6 p.m. So probably 9. I still have to get my bearings on the activity in the morning in Alpena. So either 8, 9, 10 as needed, but eventually it'll be the maximum hours possible for during the peak of the season. Any off season to be at least covering 4 days over the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I've noticed that a lot of stuff closed on Sundays, so that would be to see if there's a need for staying. But the idea is to be there all year long. So especially with the community events, to keep people coming in and gathering to that building.
And then during brown trout, would you still everyone be able to access and everything?
Yes, yeah, the dates or depending of the activities, there's still some new activities that I got to figure out. So the same way with the ice, when there's the weekends where there's the ice fishing competitions and everything, to give extended hours or time during that time. So it's basically just going to be as needed as an adjustment to hours. Like, I'm not going to fix hours and say, no,
Right, I'm
never going to be open on this.
I'm just concerned for you during brown trout.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people, but yeah, I've gone through 4th of July weeks in the Harbor Springs. Yeah, we move from a population of 1,600 to 14,000 in the summer, so you got to adjust for that. So the influx will come in and then you adjust on. The only restriction that I'm going to be facing as far as employment, because of a liquor license, I need to have 18 and older manipulating anything. So I'm trying to find the exact rule. Can I have somebody under 18 stocking? Because that is not clear in the documents as what they can manipulate, but definitely if they cannot be at the cash register if somebody brings alcohol. So that would be the only requirement that I will be facing, is finding enough people that are old enough to.
Everybody.
Yeah. So
I think-
if I can get the younger kids and allowed to be stocking, at least they can do it, and they can stay at the cash register when needed.
I think the stars are just lined up perfectly for this arrangement.
I was excited. I can tell you.
And I think we just fell in it here, and I like it. Like the
Dan's
feel of
gonna
it.
get the cheese boards while I'm work. I go to the Marina and just check something.
I gotta check stuff.
And then talking willingness to work with boat repair and
Yeah,
stock what the other doesn't have and just complement each other. And
like that, yeah.
Yeah, because the portion is, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but more and more people with boats is so specific now that you order parts to like 1 part per boat, and it doesn't match the other one or anything. So there will be we'll exchange information to make sure and just keep so I can keep the paper towel and a spray for the vinyl, and so that's easy to keep. But
Making the accessories, the cleaners, and we'll carry the parts and.
yeah, and somebody asked for the parts, and it's like there's a people to talk to. So it's a collaboration between the two sides of the building. Do you have any other question?
Thank you.
No?
Nice job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any discussion by the the committee? I'm sorry.
I guess, so what would be the next step? I mean, did we approve any of this stuff, or is this, did we just go, hey, we like them, and then it goes?
That's kind of what I was looking for is, hey, we like them. And at that point in time, if you guys are comfortable with the vendors that have presented to us, I would like to get the leases ready so that we can start getting these guys moving and going into their buildings and getting them so they're open by Memorial Day. So if you guys are comfortable with what you've heard today, I guess I would feel comfortable going back to staff and saying, yeah, we talked to them, we're comfortable with them. We like the proposals that are there, and ask staff if they're ready for me to go to council.
I mean, I think his list of his relationships that he's developed in Harbor Springs,
Mm-hmm.
you know, being able to complement other vendors in this community, I think is going to get
Mm-hmm.
some level of excitement as far as something new and exciting happening
Mm-hmm.
in and around the harbor. And
I think it's
really supportive.
and I think there's a pull. I think there's a need for it, and the fact that we'd have kind of the double whammy on that one too, I'm kind of for it. I did call some of the references on both sides, and well, as references go, usually people give good references when you list them. Hopefully they like you. If you list, but everyone's been saying how professional both organizations are. So, yeah, I mean, I personally think they're both very compatible partners to work with. I would love a discount, but I know that can't be official.
But apartment upstairs throw any issues in with any of this?
Is all it's going to do is if they're there year round, all it's going to do is help us be able to possibly, we're looking at short-term rental on that is what we're looking at, you know, come in on your boat, you want to get off for a couple of days, you know, come on in, we've got a spot for you, you got family coming in, come on in type thing.
Maybe put my parents.
Airbnb, VBRO, one of them. Eventually, you do that for 2 years, and everybody says they know it's there. Then, so then all of a sudden, you can just pull yourself off of that, and they call you and set it up. That's, I think, everybody's hope is that we can get to that point with that. There's some. We looked upstairs. There's some possibilities of things up there that we can get done and do up there. It's all it takes is time and money, both of which I don't have a lot of. So the goal is to do that. And then possibly during the winter, you have traveling nurses, things like that, that may be interested in renting it. Traveling nurses is just because my sister, I know that they look for places for 13 weeks or whatever. You have the possibility of possibly renting it out over the winter months when it's not peak for people to want to be there. That would still possibly be interested in it. So still looking at it as a potential source of income for the marina and being able to complement what we have going on there as far as our boaters and people who want to get off or whoever. Being
Concern from either side though.
as far as I know, nobody was superly concerned about it. If anything, the heat helps us. We've got heat at that point in time coming radiating up through the floor. It's going to have its own heating system and its own cooling system up there, own hot water, everything. So I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of cross between the two buildings other than possibly some electric and breakers that we are going to eventually get sorted.
Is it one service that comes in there for electrical would be shared by all?
It is, and that's
Leases?
part of their lease is this year. I think I'm charging them some amount. I can't even remember off the top of my head, but we're gonna kind of evaluate the bills. And of course, Philippe with his coolers is gonna probably have more than Arlie with his power washer. So
Is it,
we're gonna kind of try to prorate that. I'm not gonna say, okay, you're gonna pay half, and I'm gonna pay half or whatever. We're gonna try to prorate that across to everybody and eventually get them to the point where I hate to separate the services because then I have to pay another right to serve.
right? Is it a 200 amp, what?
I think it's huge.
Okay.
It's pretty good size and there's multiple.
Multiple boxes.
Yeah.
If they're each 100, that's 200. I think one's 200 and others $100.
Okay.
And that's part of why we can't have public restrooms. So,
So you need a motion.
I would like possibly a motion from you guys recommending that we take these two to council or to staff for me to get the permission to take them to council.
I'm assuming you're satisfied with the money side of things.
I am satisfied with the money side of things. We have some negotiation to do on both parts there just to make certain everybody's comfortable with the lease numbers that we're looking at. To make certain that I can pay the bills still with everything that's there. So
Is this going to be a year-to-year lease?
it will be a year-to-year lease to start with. Council was more comfortable with that just because that gives us the ability if something's going south, not that I feel with either of these people because they are both very established that will, but for a short term here to go year to year, just for our ability to, something goes drastically wrong, we have an out.
With renewals in there, so they
There are renewals.
in them.
Yes. Yep.
Continue to keep their lease.
Correct.
Do we want to bring it? Can we talk about Don's statement earlier
What's that?
about the social district?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm really interested.
Oh,
Ian's here.
okay.
So we just need a motion.
Yeah, I need a motion from you guys thinking that, or however you want to word it. Whoever wants to word it, whatever.
I'll make a motion to accept both lease proposals.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I will take them to staff here this week and hopefully have them on the next agenda then for consideration by council. I think. I'm looking at Rachel.
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
Bill's reviewed it. I
Yes.
reviewed it.
Yeah, we've had legal review of it and we've had Rachel's review of it. So when I go to council, and it's nothing they haven't seen before, other than it's tweaked for our uses. This is kind of the standard city lease.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Okay,
Cool.
HARBORMASTER'S report. We submitted a grant. We did submit the first of the docks grants to Waterways for the docks. Unfortunately, I don't know how many of you have ever met Paul Peterson, was our grant administrator for the state of Michigan DNR Waterways. 2 weeks ago on the 17th of March, he was having a standard operated operation and passed away of a massive stroke during that operation. So Waterways is slightly just reeling, trying to recover from this. They had to call me and ask me to resend my grant application because they can't get into his email even at this point in time. So they are trying to still hit those deadlines that they want to, but I think everybody in the boating community at this point in time or in the harbor community is trying to work with them as much as we can, just because it is a devastating loss to them and even to us, because you could call him and ask him any question and he could rattle off an answer. He could get you what you needed or point you in the right direction. So it is a big loss to the Waterways Commission and to our business in general. But we, Lene and I spent 30 minutes on the phone on Tuesday morning, and she says the Waterways is going to do everything in their power to keep things moving at the right pace. So hoping to hear by June at that point in time. It's a quick turnaround. It's probably the fastest grant turnaround I've ever seen, is that I submitted it April 1st and they have that turned around to us possibly by June. I think they work a year in arrears on their money, so they have that money sitting there so they can make those decisions quicker. So hopefully that Waterways grant does well and goes well. I also put in the Marina building for a Fresh Waves facade, possibly putting a mural on one of the walls down there. I submitted one. I'm open to any. So the possibility that has a possibility of happening down there. As a lot of you seen, the bollards are up and operational, so that was pretty exciting. They kind of called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, your poles are in, and we're going to try to get them up," and they were up all of a sudden. So I believe we have a committee member who'd like to talk about that.
I went down Saturday and I was excited to see them, but there's quite a bit of debris left over that I picked up off the break wall, a lot of zip ties and things like that. I realized the weather probably was not cooperating. There's still a lot of debris on the rocks, the old plastic conduit and things like that. And several of the bollards are very loose. I mean, you could push them over easily.
Mhm.
So it sounds like those things are being rectified. I
Yes.
Shannon earlier this week.
And they were supposed to go down Monday and Tuesday and work on that. I have not walked down on the break wall yet to see if they were fixed, but he said Monday and Tuesday he had sent a crew back out there to take care of those things. I wasn't happy. I can tell you the contractor, the owner, was not happy either because he kind of expects better out of his crews when they work. So he does formally apologize to the committee and to the city because he was rather embarrassed to get the pictures in the email when I forwarded it to him. So he was not happy with those guys. He said it was raining, it was miserable. They were trying to hurry and get it done. He's like, but it's no excuse for what they did. So I hope the committee can forgive him and move forward from there. But they said they will rectify it and get it taken care of. There's some plate adjustments because that concrete isn't even. They had plates made to set everything on, and we're hoping that adjustment will get made with washers is how we do it. You put washers in there and that kind of adjust them.
Right.
So hopefully that will solid them up.
Because that was after Jason had told me to over the weekend, and I went down there for a walk,
Mhm,
and that was something I noticed. I mean, it looks
mhm.
happy that they're in, but you look down the line and it's like,
And we're gonna have some of that for a little bit until we can finally get that,
yeah,
the right washers. And that's what, that concrete has got some wobble to it. And then we put those plates on top of it and we're dealing with old bolt patterns underneath that we've cut off. So we've still got a little bit of wobble in them. So he's aware of it. He's trying to get it to adjust correctly.
Yeah, and again, the weather has not been conducive for
No,
outside.
so it hasn't been very nice to us as far as getting stuff started down there. So other than that, I think that was kind of all I had for my report of things going on, other than us just trying to fire up for the season and get things moving. Are there any other member comments? Staff comments? Yes.
So as Shannon alluded, I just wanted to give an update on the social districts. So the legislation did change around them so that they can exist until perpetuity or until the city would want to dissolve it if they ever wanted to do that. So that was really great news that it doesn't end in 2024. And they also changed the special nonprofit license rules as well. So if you have a special nonprofit license, such as the Brown Trout Festival, you do not need to put the district into escrow. So that is something that we could add that parking lot into the social district. We were supposed to have a DDA board meeting this week to discuss it, but it was canceled. So whether that's something that should go to the DDA first and then go to city council to approve, of course, if this committee wanted to add that area. But the only reason that it was not included was just because of the hassle with the Brown Trout Festival. But moving forward, if that area is part of the social district, you could, go still get a drink from Fresh Palette, walk down there while they're having that nonprofit special license in that as well. So
It won't have to be a beautiful little orange snow fence around everything, or is that gonna?
I don't, and that's what I don't know. That's going to be a question, I think, for liquor license with Brown Trout, if they have to have the beautiful orange snow fence anymore or not. Because at that point in time, they would be in the social district. So I
Right.
don't know. I think that's going to be a question for the liquor license control people.
yeah.
so could someone technically, let's say when Philippe gets a liquor license, that someone could go grab a beautiful bottle of Chardonnay and then go walk in the Brown Trout, or they wouldn't, even though they could be in the area, but they couldn't go into the Brown Trout event?
That part I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what we don't, those are the questions I think that we would have to figure out between us and, or the vendors of brown trout and liquor control.
Okay.
I think those were something that we would have to clear up with that.
Yeah. Because I do worry about, because I know brown trout does make quite a bit of money from their liquor sales.
Mhm.
And so I'm sure Sleep would like to make some profit off a brown trout event too, but I just make sure that's pretty clear.
Would the yacht club be in the social district also?
They are currently, but they don't have a permit, or they haven't.
Right.
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 But that would be something, they can do that at any point in time. So current,
By the space we're on at the yacht club.
yeah, because currently the boundary cuts off right on, that'd be Harbor Drive,
Yes.
that sidewalk, but then it curves up to have like the yacht club slips in the band shell side. But you could get a drink from, Fresh Pal or Black Sheep or whoever else has their permit and walk around that area currently. So
Cool.
I don't know if there needs to be any formal or just to bring to your attention, because I told Shannon
Well, then I guess-
that changed recently.
I'm just curious what the committee thinks. To me, I think we should put the entire district in, because then the group that I felt was hurt worst by it was our transient dockers, where if they're out enjoying the social district and all of a sudden they get to the parking lot and it's like, oh, there's a sign here that I have to throw my drink out that I just bought down here. And
Throw their drink out.
You say-
You mean I have to drink this before I go past that sign?
yeah, I mean, let's face fact, most of them are going to chuck them before they throw them in that basket. But just the ability for them to walk back to their boat and their drink at the end of the
We'll chug it before they get in the car, I'm sure.
And that doesn't affect like BYOB as you currently can do down in city parks or anything like that.
So if we expand, as I recall, we would have to go take this to the DDA and then go through that approval process again.
Yeah.
First time.
Yeah, I believe.
Even for an amended.
Yeah, I believe city council would just need to approve the amended map and then I just submit that to the Liquor Control Commission. So whether we want to, also, I'm sure the DDA is not going to mind, but our next meeting is the early May if we wanted to put it there and then council right afterwards.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ann.
Yep, you're welcome.
Can I guess we're all in favor of this, can I get a motion to approve Shannon approaching city council with a memo for recommending expansion?
approaching the DDA.
Approaching the DDA. Apologies.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
Any other staff comment?
Getting it down, man.
If not, our next meeting will be May 5th.
Have to make a motion.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I get a second.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
And carries.
The time.
Can I call you right back?